Welcome back on France 24. While others are paid to work, Gulliver Cragg reads the newspapers. He's with us now with the press review. Gulliver, Fidel Castro making news.
Yeah, it's one of those days when newspapers all over the world carry the same story. Fidel Castro timed his statement that he was going to be stepping down as president of Cuba rather well. It was on the front page of the official Cuban newspaper Granma yesterday. That front page reproduced on today's Herald Tribune, which meant that it was just too late for other papers around the world to cover it yesterday, but on time for it to be the front page of papers in both the Eastern and the Western Hemisphere today. Let's stay close at home first. Libération's got a rather sad picture of the leader Maximo with the headline 50 years of solitude, and it talks about the disappointment of Castro's revolution in Cuba that led into authoritarianism. Over in Britain, you can always count on The Independent for a great front page, and there's actually a brilliant article inside by Rupert Cornwell tracing Fidel Castro's antagonism with the US back to the time when he was a 10-year-old boy, he wrote to President Roosevelt saying could he have a $10 bill, because he'd never seen one and he never received a $10 bill, and as Rupert Cornwell says, it was downhill all the way from there. On a rather more serious note, though, he says, why has the US made such an enemy of this tiny country? After all, Fidel Castro's human rights record may be terrible, but it's quite possible that the US embargo against Cuba is the main reason that he's been able to stay in power, justifying and blaming everything that goes wrong in Cuba on that.
The U.S., where there's a sizable Cuban community in Miami.
Yeah, so I went to look at the Miami Herald, the paper in Miami, which is very excited about this news, speculating on what will happen now. It says that Raul, Fidel Castro's younger brother, who's currently in charge, is not necessarily going to be the successor. He's going to stay the most powerful man in Cuba, but he may prefer to wield power from behind the scenes, the Miami Herald reckons, saying that maybe it might be Carlos Laje, current vice president, who might become president. But the Herald says probably because it's likely that there won't be that much change. There hasn't been that much celebration either in Florida or in Havana that it can report on. And
could it be curtains for another one-time military leader, Pervez Musharraf of Pakistan?
Yeah, the Pakistani parliamentary elections are almost as historic an event as the demise of Fidel Castro as president of Cuba, possibly, at least according to English language papers in Pakistan, Dawn and The News. The News saying the mandate of the people is clearly against the president, and February the 18th, 2008 will be remembered in the country's history as the day the people of the nation were allowed to speak with their real voice. They're really going big guns on this, but the Times of India is not so sure. It says, don't believe anyone who tells you Pervez Musharraf is down and out. And of course, Musharraf himself said in the Wall Street Journal today that he was not going to be resigning.
So the end of an era with Castro, the end of the canals in Venice?
Oh no, it's not the end of the canals in Venice, Francois. This is just a minor blip in history, but still a little historic event. But it's just a minor blip. In La Nuova Venezia, we learned that Venice's canals all but dried up yesterday. There was a freak low tide, leaving gondolas grounded, as you can see there in the picture. Apparently it's back to normal now, but it must have stank there for a while.
All right, lucky it didn't happen on Valentine's Day. Thanks, Gulliver Cragg, for reading today's paper. Stay with us. Much more news coming up.